A Ukrainian F-16 has crashed, and unfortunately, its pilot had died. This has now been confirmed by the Ukrainian military. And we have to talk about this because I've already reported this on TikTok, and the amount of people and the horrible things people are saying, it just doesn't make any sense. So let's first get it right out of the gate and say, anytime you have a war, you expect to lose some aircraft. You see, Ukraine is expected to get almost 80 of these F-16s. Some of them are coming later on, but the original first batch, which is about 10, was delivered not too long ago. And Ukrainians said from the get-go they're really going to use them to target Russian missiles and drones for the time being until they can get more, and that they're going to keep them roughly about 40 kilometers away from the front lines. This way, Russia does not attack these aircraft. Well, as you may know, on August 26th, Russia launched a major attack into Ukraine. This involved hundreds of air targets. We're talking about a decent amount of missiles and drones all coming at once. And the next day, Zelensky did announce that yes, F-16s were used last night to take down air targets. And everyone obviously praised what happened there. But then later on, it was announced that a pilot had died, but we didn't get any information whatsoever. It wasn't until yesterday that an unnamed U.S. official came forward and said to, I believe it was the Wall Street Journal, that one of the F-16s that Ukraine had gotten crashed. There was no confirmation until later on today that yes, indeed, a pilot was killed after one of these did crash. They did make sure to say that this was not an attack. Russia did not attack the plane, and that it's possible it was an error of the pilot. Though the pilot is extremely, when I mean extremely skilled. He goes by the name of Moonfish. He's been flying for quite some time, and in this day when he was flying, he destroyed 3 missiles and 1 drone. According to the Ukrainian staff, during the approach to the next target, communication with one of the jets was lost. As it turned out later, the plane crashed and the pilot was killed. So he was going after yet another target to take it down, and then something happened. We do not know exactly what happened. We're still waiting for a full investigation to see, well, was it a pilot error? Was it something else? We don't know at this time. I'm sure that within the next few days we'll get more details, like we don't even know where this happened in Ukraine. We don't know where they keep F-16s, which if this happened in that area, they probably are never going to announce where this took place. But I'm sure a lot of people want to know what is going on. And that's where we start getting into, obviously, a lot of speculation. People are saying that, well, Russia hit it, it crashed, that's why he didn't get out of the plane. We honestly do not know what happened. And I really want everyone, whoever's giving out these rumors, to kind of just stop and realize that this is a rough time. A, Ukraine lost an F-16 that they fought extremely hard for. And B, they lost a very experienced pilot in a time where they need a lot of pilots. You know, there's a lot of, let's say, information out there that if you are an F-16 pilot, regardless of what country you are in or where you're from, you can come to Ukraine and fly one of them because they need more pilots. Because pretty soon they're going to get another batch of these and they may not have certain pilots ready to go. And now I could definitely feel, and I've read all of the Russian comments in my TikTok, it is war, folks. I want to remind you, things will happen. And this is obviously a tragedy for Ukraine. It is going to be very hard for Ukraine to do certain things, but hopefully, Ukrainian partners will get together and allow Ukraine to use certain weapons to strike deeper and deeper into Russia so they can stop sending all of these air targets into Ukraine. I will say that Ukrainians did a fantastic job taking down most of these air targets. If they did not, things would have been a lot worse. And as you may know, earlier yesterday, there was a NATO summit put together for Ukrainians and other members to decide what they're going to do moving forward, because Ukraine had been promised a lot of equipment and a lot of things, but unfortunately they were not delivered. And that was said by the Lithuanian foreign minister, which I want to play a clip for you because he is not wrong. Take a look.
Even though it sounds like a joke, but we're protecting Russian skies more. Russian planes are better protected by the Western guarantees than Ukrainians. We have to ask ourselves a question: aren't we ourselves a part of this problem? So far, no Patriot batteries that have been promised to Ukraine in Washington have been delivered. No new ammunition packages have been delivered since June. The eastern flank is worried because we all understand if Ukrainians are not getting the assistance that they have been promised, that is a door open for Putin to continue. This is very unfortunate, but we need to start asking very specific questions when the promises are being made. Because it turns out that when a country X promises an equipment Y, it appears that the equipment Y is unsuitable, is unusable, it needs repairs, it would take a very long time for it to be delivered.
Once again, he is not wrong. First, the West is allowing Russian planes to be safe, which means that they can target Ukrainians more. And that should never happen, because Ukraine should be able to take down these things before they're able to launch anything. And not giving permission to Ukraine means you're putting critical infrastructure and Ukrainian lives at risk. That's not okay. On top of that, countries who promise things and will say, as he said, 2023, but they'll get it in 2027. That's also not okay, because Ukraine has been always behind the 8 ball, because they would say, hey, we calculated we need this by this date. And then other countries like the US would go, okay, maybe in 3 months. Ukraine has already gotten the trust of every single country. I'm not quite sure why the US keeps on delaying things, why other countries keep on delaying things when Ukraine has already proven itself. When Ukraine was in Kharkiv and Russia was coming through, they didn't fire into Russia because of the rule. You can't fire into Russian territory. And luckily, in time, Ukrainians did get that budget from the United States with more missiles and weapons. They were able to hold back the Russians and finally got the permission to stop the Russians. And did you see what happened? The Russians were stopped. And actually, even as of this week, the Russians are retreating in those areas. Then they allowed Ukraine to fire into Kursk. Look how far they're able to get into. And by the way, when I mean fire into Kursk, I'm not talking about like the long range stuff. It's to quote unquote protect Ukrainians. So they're taking out certain kind of targets and bridges, such as using HIMARS to take out those 3 to 4 bridges in the Kursk region to cut off Russia and create that buffer zone. Ukraine has always been stuck behind the 8 ball, which is why you're seeing brand new equipment being evolved and created in Ukraine so they can strike very deep into Russia. Oil depots to cut off Russia from making money, to buy more weapons, getting rid of ammo depots, getting rid of airports. And the sad part is Ukraine said several months ago that they need ATACMS to go into Russia to get rid of all these aircraft. The United States have been dragging their feet. Russia had moved about 90% of their aircraft, so that Ukraine cannot hit them if they get the permission. And that's where you could see the calculations being such a major problem, and something that Ukraine, if they ask something, they need to get permission ASAP, because if not, it's not going to help. All that being said, we send our best to the family of Moonfish. He was a decorated pilot and so sad to lose one. But once again, unfortunately, it is war. Hopefully, we'll find out from the investigation what happened, and we'll be sure to let you guys know. So be sure to follow us for more. Stay safe.